All right, what is up, everyone? So glad to have you here, and we've got a jam-packed episode today. So I'm a little bit late, and I know that. There's a lot that's been going on today, and just actually finished up some really cool stuff. But before we get into anything, let's hit that intro really quick.
The Avengers. That's what we call ourselves. Earth's mightiest heroes.
I have an army.
We have a Hulk.
All right, so joining us first, he's been on the channel for a couple weeks in a row now. VK on Comics, good to see you.
How's it going, my man?
It is going good. It's crazy over here with two kids.
Whoa, one more than I can handle.
And for the first time ever, Chris, the comic vet.
What's up, brothers? How's everyone doing?
Welcome.
Doing good.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for having me, man.
Of
And you
course.
have one of the most popular names on YouTube. Let me tell you.
Yeah. That's why Mark is always coming after you. He knows that you're the reason why he's at 800 subscribers.
Yes.
And most importantly, joining us tonight, and I actually have a few of his comic boards. I did a little review way back when I first heard about them. And I wanted to get an interview because, I mean, this is just something so cool. So here is Steven from Comic Clear. They're clear comic boards.
Hey guys,
And it's going good. Those boards are amazing, I have to say.
thanks. Yeah, appreciate that.
Where did you come up with the idea for these?
Well, I can't take credit for inventing these things. They've been around, and a few other people have tried them.
Okay.
I didn't know they existed when I had the idea. I've had a lot of inventions that ended up already being on the market, but it's I guess where it started. I bought a collection that had a really long. It was like 300 books. Consecutive run of Journey into Mystery and Thor. Filled up a whole long box plus some, and I love the back cover ads on old Silver Age books, and they were in really good shape too. So as I was flipping through them and bagging and boarding them, I thought, man, it'd be really cool if the backing board was clear, right? So I got on Amazon, I started searching, I started looking on Google, and the only thing that I could really find was a brand that was selling them in packs of 5 for like $15 a pack plus $30 shipping. And I was like, there's no way I can do this. Like, that's insane. So at first I was like, well, it's just regular paper backing boards for me, right? And then my younger brother actually, he and his wife have done a lot of kind of like importing, exporting, that sort of thing. And I figured I'd talk to him about that. And he kind of showed me where to look. And I ended up finding a supplier. I did my research and my homework on what type of plastic was archival versus what would damage books and things like that. And at the initial run that I bought was going to be for me. I didn't think there was going to be a market for it because I figured if there would have been, someone would have really succeeded with them by then. Yeah. I've got a background in marketing, so I figured, well, what I'll do is I'll get them in like packs of 25, and I'll make like a nice little insert, and whatever I don't use, maybe I can throw them up on eBay and see how they go, right? So I did all the branding work, and I had them made, and by the time they came in, I did a pre-sale just to kind of test the waters. I think out of that first run, I might have gotten 2 packs for myself. I was sold out in a month and a half. And I was already on back order, and it was crazy. So that's sort of the origin story of Comic Clear.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Incredible.
And I mean, there's so many comics that I have that are virgin variants or wraparound covers that I never know which side to put it on. Like, part of me wants to be able to see the issue number, and the other part of me wants to be able to see the artwork. Yeah. And it's like, where am I going to put it if I forget the issue number? I'm screwed. So like the one that I immediately gravitated to was this one. Beautiful cover, Horizon Zero Dawn cover, and I haven't taken it out of here yet because it's sealed and everything, and I don't know if I'm going to keep it, so I want to make sure I can say that it's still sealed. But this would be a perfect candidate for a clear comic board, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those early Ninja Turtle books had awesome wraparound covers. The artwork on the back is just killer. And so many stores are doing these exclusives where there's 800, 100 print runs, and they've got their logo on the back. They're paying good money to do that, and then they throw it in with a full back or a paper backing board, and their logo's gone. And people really like those virgin variants, and you don't even know what book it is after a while. You throw it in a box and you kind of forget. So I've got one here that my local store did, if I could find it. But I mean, it's just a killer book. I think this is Batman 50.
When you were making this product up, did you realize how much these will help people that sell comics in auctions because they could show the front and back and everything?
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking of that when I started it, but once you get them in your hands, like you start to realize, oh, there's a lot you could do with this thing, right? Like I wasn't thinking about at conventions wall books. I was at a convention a couple weeks ago. Thank God they're back, and a guy had a really early Green Lantern Golden Age book, and I was like, God, that's beautiful. I really want it. And I started looking at it. I was like, is that staple popped? I can't really tell. He had to pull it out of the bag, and he's touching this thing like it's a like it's a newborn baby, and turns out the staple was popped, but you would have been able to see if you could have flipped the book over, right?
Yeah.
So, but he handled it, and who knows what he did to the book when he did that, because it was so fragile. But with these, it's you put those wall books up, and someone wants to see it, you hand it to them, and they look at both sides, and you never have to take it out of the bag.
For sure.
I can remember as a teenager, reading books in the mid to late 80s. And I can remember X-Men was relaunched with brand new covers for the front and the back under the banner Classic X-Men. And Arthur Adams was doing the front covers beautifully for like the first 20 issues. But on the back cover, John Bolton, the artist, was doing a cover as well for the secondary short story that's in the back of Classic X-Men 1 through 20. For those that don't know about Classic X-Men, it's just basically they just reprinted the new team from I believe, say, issue 95 or 96 on forward past the Phoenix Saga. And I can remember thinking at the time, well, this is how I can afford to read these stories as a young reader. And I can remember thinking, I was a big fan of Arthur Adams back then and still today. And I can remember those covers just looking gorgeous. But I tell you, some of the John Bolton stuff that was on the back cover was just as beautiful. So I can remember going out and actually buying 2 copies so that I could display the front one and then display the back one as well. I'm telling you, if this stuff would have been on, like if this idea would have came up in the 80s, like it would have been a game changer then. So kudos to you for doing it now, man. Like I really wish that I tell you right, as soon as we started talking, I'm like, oh, those Classic X-Men books. This is my chance now to go out and pick up a large pack. I don't know if you guys know what the title I'm talking about, but I can now go out and tear out the white backing board and put in the clear one and actually get to appreciate both these master artists' work on this retold story.
That's awesome.
And cheers to everyone that's watching tonight.
Definitely.
Also, too, when you look over,
Ellicottville,
a lot of times they have
just south of Buffalo.
Is that what you're drinking? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm drinking Wayne Gretzky's personal beer.
Nice.
I got
The pale ale.
and Betty have a Weissen.
Beautiful.
I feel left out, but I don't drink. Sorry.
All good, my man. All good.
Get out of
All
here.
good.
No, really. Also, too, when you're working, when you're going into cons, you pay for all that space, so you want to maximize your space. And now with the clear, your product comic clear, when people walk behind it, they won't see any of those white boards no more. They'll see the back of the comics. So that's
That. Yeah.
way for people to see and go, oh, wait a minute, is that a turtle book? And then there's like so many ways it can be used. And
Yeah.
and
I hadn't even thought about that one.
the panelists today.
What was that?
How much is the discount for the panelists today?
Yeah.
I'll
What's the
hook you guys
code?
up. Don't worry.
But yeah, it's such a brilliant idea. But my God, why did it take 60 or 70 or 80 years worth of comic book reading for the idea of just a clear, rigid plastic backing board? It's brilliant. Like, because it's like you mentioned earlier. Like, now we can, like, if we're walking down to a con and we happen to look up behind a vendor, we can see if it's there. The only way we can see if it's at least 5 years ago, say, that we could see if it's some sort of special book, is that if it is graded, right? So like that was the, and then 9 times out of 10, I don't know about you guys, but I wasn't budgeting to pick up graded books, when I went to certain different cons. So that it's just so special. It's just so special, man.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I still get a little thrill every time I'm, pulling the protective film off of a board to bag up a book that I bought. I don't know, there's just something really cool about it, and you always flip the book over, and you never get tired of that kind of, like, the reveal. It's just pretty neat. Like, I wish I had more of them. Like, I'm trying not to use them all over here. I've got a pretty healthy collection, but I'd say all my keys I've gone ahead and converted over, and I haven't gone through look for wraparound covers or anything yet. But I don't want to run out.
Well, and Steven, I believe you did a drop video too to show like how durable they are.
Yeah, that one surprised me. To be honest, I fully expected to never publish that video because I thought the plastic would dent or something.
Okay.
But it dented my floor. It left a little indentation in my oak floor, and I did it from 3 feet. So basically, if your book, you put books in a pile sometimes and they slide. Yep. Like if it fell off of your desk from 3 feet onto a hard floor, it would protect the corner of that book really, really well. And then I did it with a full back too, and that joker crunched. I was surprised at how badly that one just collapsed on itself. So I think every supply out there has its place. Like, you're not going to get a dollar bin book and use a clear backing board on it unless there's something sentimental or special about the book, right?
Yeah.
So paper stuff has its place. The fullbacks have their place, and I just think these are versatile, and I think every collector has at least 25 books that deserve to see the front and the back of it and have that kind of clear protection.
Agreed.
How thick is it? Is it 6 mil, 4 mil, 6 mil?
It's 0.08 or 0.8 millimeters, so it's slightly thicker than your standard paper backing board. But because it's plastic, it's got that crystalline structure to it. It's not made out of like pulp that's been pressed together, so it's like incredibly rigid. It's not like it's not going to shatter. It's not like it's a type of plastic that doesn't shatter or crack when it's got impact. But it's not terribly thick, which I kind of prefer, because some of these bags, like especially BCW brand bags, they're already pretty tight with a normal backing board. So the thicker you go, the more I feel like you're squeezing that comic a little bit. It's got, like, with this one, like, the book doesn't move, right? Like, it doesn't slide around in there, so it's tight enough, I think. But it's pretty strong. On my Thor run, I finally got my Thor run completely done, and it looks cool in a long box to not see like that white, And how strong is it? So I just started pounding on the top of it. I had my 5-year-old stand on it, like stand on the actual comics, not on the box, like on the comics themselves.
Wow.
And they're solid.
That's awesome.
That's a lot of faith in your product, man.
Well, a lot of faith in my 5-year-old.
is there a backlog? Like with a lot of supplies, it's hard to get supplies right now.
Yeah.
Is it if somebody orders from you? Is it like shipping right away, or is there a backlog?
Yeah, it's right now. I've got a bunch, so I'm pretty good right now. I tried to turn orders around in 24 hours. If your order comes in before 8 o'clock, I can get it out that day, like
Oh,
8 o'clock in the morning. My postal guy comes pretty early, but I mean, yeah, I know top loaders are tough to get. Mylars right now are really difficult to get, and there's a lot of stuff, you know, doing like jumping into this importing business. Like it's been a crash course in global economics. A lot of the stuff that's driving that, there's a few things. One, the tariff that's been put on China. The normal duties on plastic were 4%. They're 34% now. So a lot of these suppliers, you spend $1,000 to bring something in, and you're paying the government 340 extra bucks just to get it released to be delivered, right?
Wow.
So a lot of the suppliers are running their inventories really thin, hoping that eventually the tariffs go away, and then they can place bigger orders because it's just killing the suppliers. And then the other thing that's really odd about it is so many of the containers that go on cargo vessels are in U.S. ports right now. If you order something from overseas, they don't have anything to put it in to actually put it on a boat and bring it over here.
Yeah, there's a big container shortage across the world for shipping.
Yep.
I was gonna ask you, Stephen, where was your company affected by the blockage of the canal that was last month?
No, thankfully not. I don't ship through the Suez Canal. I go through the Panama Canal. So, but I think there's disruption all over the place because of that, right? So I think at that time I had a boat on the water, and I think it sat outside of New York Harbor for about 2 weeks before it could get in. So and that's just because like when there's a thunderstorm in Atlanta and it messes up air travel all over the country. That's basically what happened. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have one with you? Comic Clear?
Say it again.
Do you have one you could hold up?
Yeah.
With
I did.
With a comic side?
I lost it. It's transparent. Hold on. Yeah, I can find one.
So Cray for Comics is saying there's a shipping container shortage because Falcon Winter Soldier blew up a whole shipping yard.
Agent 13.
So here's one. It still has the protective film on it, so it looks a tiny bit cloudy, but I can take it off real quick. It's pretty easy with just a little piece of tape.
And that's because that way it protects it and there's not scratches on it. That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
really good here.
I was a little worried that the film would be too cumbersome for folks, but
no,
I think people actually they appreciate the fact that it's not going to get scratched up.
Yeah,
and it's actually kind of fun to do. So yeah.
For that thick and that sturdy, I thought for sure it wouldn't be that crystal clear, but those are pretty crystal clear. It looks like.
Yeah, they're pretty doggone clear. I've stacked about 10 on top of each other, and you can see straight through them. Like it takes a lot of them before you kind of lose that transparency. But,
see, and one of the things I love is that you're not saying everyone needs this. Everyone, like, you need to just replace your entire collection with clear plastic. You're saying this is to protect your keys. This is if you want to spend $1 a book to protect your $1,000 raw book, this is what to do it with. And I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, everyone should have, like you said, at least 25 of these in their collection because there's books out there, whether you just are looking to get the clear to be able to see the back and the front at the same time or what. I mean, I have 2 in my collection right now. I passed on the other 3 to buddies of mine, and they all said how much they love them and said that they would definitely invest in buying more because they have books out there that they don't want to send out to CGC, but at the same time, they think deserve that ability to protect in a different way.
Yeah. I mean, most of my collection doesn't have these and probably won't, right? And I get them at cost, right? So
Yeah.
like if anyone could do it, it would probably be me. But it just doesn't make sense for a lot of books to have this. I mean, there are some books that I've got where I've got a few really fragile, brittle Golden Age books. I sandwiched them between two clear boards and then put them in the bag. So it's basically a top loader inside of a Mylar, right?
Oh,
Nice.
And the beauty of it is they're rated for, they're basically indefinite, right? You don't have to swap them out like paper backing boards. So, I think the only number I could find online for Mylar, which is what they are, PET plastic Mylar, was like 150 years before you had to change them out. So,
Wow.
if you've got a really brittle book and you've got a paper backing board, you should be changing that thing out. And you guys have had like brittle books and you go and you change it out, and then there's like little flakes laying around, and you're like, where did that come
Yep.
from? Like, you're trying to put the puzzle back together, and you do that enough times. I think it's like 33 times in 150 years you would have to do that, something like that. So I mean, it pays for itself over time. My keys, I think my great grandchildren will, I guess, have to swap them out, but I'll let them worry about it. I'll save a few bags for them.
So Hoarder's Hide said awesome idea, but I'm too big a tight ass. I bitch when I have to spend a dime for a regular bagging board. I mean, I agree. It is. I mean, I just bought all new boards because I had run out, so I'm sitting here on a whole stack of them, and then a whole stack of comics I got to read to put them away. But it's, as you said, these are for those special comics. Hoarder's Hide is also asking, are the corners rounded?
No, they're sharp.
Okay.
Yep.
Was there any reason for that? Did you play around with the styling of it, or is that just how they kind of came?
No, I just wanted it super simple.
Okay.
I figured if I made the corner rounded, if the book slid all the way to the corner of the bag somehow and that corner wasn't protected, then shame on me for making a product that left that book unprotected. So I just made everything as square as possible, and I figured that was the safest route.
And then this is a big thing. I mean, that's one of the reasons that my ASM 800 is actually sitting in two bags, because the original bag that I bought it in, the corner at the bottom actually got a hole poke through it. So have you noticed any problems with that with these?
No, they fit all major bag brands really well. BCW Mylars are a little bit tight, but I think that's just because their bags, I think, are just like an eighth of an inch, less wide than others. But I haven't had any issues with the corners. They slide in super easy, and unless you're banging the thing around on a table, that corner is going to be fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I really think for those of us that spend money on the very short printed Virgin variant, or if we pick up the trade and Virgin variant sets that are done out of 500, like right off the top of my mind, I know that I have some higher end Something Is Killing the Children issue 16 Virgin variants that are coming my way. Like, this is a game changer for those books, just to be able to flip it around and look at it that way. I know it was mentioned earlier, but like, my God, my mind just keeps going back to that. Like, how many times have I, through mystery boxes, picked up a Venom, and I know that it's a Venom, but I have no idea if it's 27, 28, 28, or 28,
Yep.
29, 30. I know that it's a Kirkham, so I pretty much know it might be a street level hero, but what's that issue number? And the last thing I want to do is like crack that bag open and like carefully try and pull up that backing board to see like how far up is the numbering going to be. And I hope that a lot of these mystery box providers get on that clear backing board train. Like, if even if it costs like an extra $7 or $8 per mystery box, if they're just putting in high end stuff, I'm going to be game. Absolutely. If I don't have to crack that sticker that's in the back and just flip it around to find out all the information that I need, particularly as someone who invests in these Virgin variants, I will gladly hand over that little bit of extra money to cover their costs,
For sure.
to make sure that your company continues to provide the services that they are.
Yeah, I've got a few of the folks doing exclusive variants who've already reached out to me. I've got basically every exclusive variant that IG Comic Store. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with them. but they're putting out 7 or 8 this year, and every one of them is going to have a clear backing board. Heatseeker Comics is another one that's using the clear boards for his exclusive variants. And just recently, like as of last week, Heroes Corners Comics is going to be using it for, I think it's a Virgin variant for Something's Killing the Children that's coming out in a few months.
Very nice.
But yeah, I mean, I would too. I mean, I'm an advertising branding guy, by trade, and what's the point of putting your logo on the back of a book and then covering it up, right? That just seems odd to me. I don't know. That's a lost opportunity. I think it's to me. If I were a store doing that, it's worth the extra, the extra cost, so that folks who are flipping through their collection, a year from now are like, where did I get that book? I mean, you buy so many of these things, you forget which store did which.
Yeah.
And, this is a good way to keep that brand recognition for folks too.
Well, I'd always wondered why Midtown Comics had put their logo on the front. And I mean, that makes perfect sense as to why they do it. I mean, again, you're 99% of people are going to put it in a opaque cardboard backing, and you're never going to see it again. I mean, so yeah, I completely understand why people would want to do this, especially on a Virgin variant where you don't know the comic, you might not know the issue number. And I mean, there's comics out there that I think it was a Deadpool cover, had no sign that it was Deadpool on it, and completely Virgin variant that I want to say Gary B showed off. And it was Wanda Vision on the front. I'm like, hold on a second. You've got a Virgin WandaVision cover on a Deadpool comic.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest. So this book, this particular cover, the Frozen cover for issue 16, was released just a couple days ago. And when I saw it, I know it's just a normal variant, but it is a Virgin variant. It was meant to be released this way. But if my LCS, which is a smaller one for the city that I'm in here in Ontario, if he were to say, okay, so I put the backing board as a clear one, I got to upsell you $1.50 or $2 just to cover my costs. But I'll tell you, so like I'm never going to open this one as my reader copy, but I sure am curious, to know what's actually back here.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily trust myself when I pull that up. I'm afraid I may like bend the spine or anything like that. But yeah, so if my point is, if my LCS is going to upsell me $2, I'm getting this book regardless. So if he's got to say, I just got to cover my costs to make sure that there's a very special backing board, so you know what it is. In a year's time, am I going to think, is that 16 or is it 18? Like, I know that, like, personally, I'm a hardcore Killing the Children fan, so I'll know that it's 16. But if I'm going through my box, it's going to be cool to flip that over and see what's actually meant to be shown off a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, for me, it just kind of circles back. I don't know if I just have it stuck in my head. It's just those Venom books. I remember picking up a few of those $300 Superior Mystery boxes. Like 90% of them are all Virgin variants. And if you haven't watched someone else open their box first, you may not know what you're getting. It may be Wolverine on the cover, say, but you don't know if that's going to be an X-Men book, a Wolverine book, a Marauders book, anything. So I really hope, again, that if anyone watches this video, invest in this man's product, and don't be afraid to upsell your product a little bit to cover the cost, because those of us that enjoy Virgin variants per se or high-end books, we're gonna have no problem spending that little bit of money to cover your costs to get his product in those books.
100%. And I mean, how many times do you go to your LCS and there's a variant of some sort and it's already upcharged from the cover price? Like if it's cover $4 and it's $6, I'm paying the $6 because I like the cover. If on top of that it's $7 or $8 because it's got a clear comic board backing, most people aren't even going to know that that's the reason why it's upcharged. But you're still going to pay the $8 because it's like, ooh, now look at what I get out of this. Not only do I get a bag and board already with my comic, I mean, I'm like Hoarder's Hide. I'm that frugal where if I see a comic that's in a bag and board for cover price versus a comic that's not been bag and boarded yet, I'm buying the one that's in the bag and board just to save that one bag and board. I mean, it's obviously a very little thing, but at the same time, I mean, that adds up over time.
What is the cost of Comic Clear?
What's that?
What is the cost of Comic Clear?
So on the website, the retail price is $30 for a pack of 25, and that includes shipping. And shipping's expensive.
Any bulk
That's a-
discounts? Like
What's
if
that?
you any bulk discounts if you order 100, 500?
Yeah, there are on my eBay. There's actually a quantity discount built in. I can't build that into my website because the platform isn't sophisticated enough yet to do that, or maybe I'm not. But there is there, and then once you start getting to like 10 packs and stuff, just email me and we can work something out.
Okay, that's a price. That's a good price.
Well, I want to get it lower. My goal is to grow this so that I'm ordering enough to get quantity discounts that I can pass along through my price. So I want this to be, I don't think this is ever going to be a replacement for, standard, backing boards, but I want it to be more in the consideration set for folks price wise. So I'm trying to get there, and it's quickly getting there. If the tariffs ever go down again, that'll be a big help. But yeah, I mean, if I have wholesale pricing for folks who are reselling packs like comic shops. I've got 45 comic shops right now that have these on their supply shelves as we speak, and I get more every week. And then I've got several folks that have messaged me and said, "Hey, can I get 40 packs?" And just email me. We can talk about it and figure out what works.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
My goal at the beginning of the year was if I can get into 10 stores by the end of December, I'm good. Like that would be success, right? And I hit that in January. So I was like, this is quickly going to take over my life. My side hustle is quickly becoming my front hustle. So
yeah,
it's a good thing.
yeah.
Steve, have you considered moving into different size books? I know, for instance, The Last Ronin is a larger size book compared to the standard issues that are released monthly. Is that an avenue that you're going to be looking in the future, like magazine size backing boards? I know a lot of people pick up a lot of magazines like Star Wars Insider, the Rolling Stone, books like that, and hold on to it. Yep, and the oversized books of the 70s, those collected editions. Like I said, I know The Last Ronin right now is a very larger size comic book, and as we all know, it's incredibly popular right now. And so is that an avenue that you're going to be looking down?
Yeah, I've got a product roadmap, and magazine size boards are one of them. So that's on the radar. I get that question probably once a week about magazine boards. My next move, and actually I just put the deposit down on it earlier this week, is I want to have the peanut butter and the jelly. So I'm going to have a line of bags as well. So the sleeves to go with them. So they're going to be OPP plastic, which is like clear. You get the clarity of Mylar, but they're like incredibly less expensive than Mylar plastic is. So they have that kind of, how like a Mylar bag has that sort of crisp feel to it, like that crinkle. It's got that as well. So that's going to come out hopefully by the end of the summer, if the stars align. And then I'm thinking about magazine size boards, top loaders. I've got a long list of things that I want to explore to try to expand this into kind of like a full service one-stop shop for comic supplies.
That's awesome.
So hopefully we'll get there. Yeah.
Sounds like you're on your way.
Yeah, it's moving a lot quicker than I thought it would. I'm thrilled that people enjoy these things. People share them on Instagram. That's mostly where I promote and where I'm kind of engaging with folks. Should probably get onto Twitter, but I just can't stand Twitter.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. I'm just really bad about Facebook. But multiple times a day, people are, I got my pack, and then they're showing off boards and flipping them over and stuff, and I don't know, it's just so cool because this was supposed to be, something for me originally, and I didn't think anyone else would really, you know, buy into it and really enjoy it. I thought maybe I was just like the odd duck, but it's cool to see other collectors really like them and gravitate towards them.
So what's next for you in the way of advertising now that the continent and mostly the United States, I don't want to say Canada because Canada's still very locked down, things are starting to open back up. So what's next for you? Are you going to take it on the road? Are you going to go to like C2E2 in December when San Diego fires up? Are you hoping to get on the floor there and like do, I guess, small giveaways or bring the product to the people, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, I'd really like to. I want to build out the product portfolio first and kind of establish the bags as well, and have more of an offering. I did a show I did my first con as a vendor probably about a month ago, and I think just having the one option, there's three sizes, but just selling the one thing, I think if you had a menu of things, it probably would have been a lot more successful. So I want to build that out and then take my brand out as like a, get the peanut butter and the jelly, so to speak, So I would love to do that. It's a huge time commitment. My car can only hold so many of these things, so I'd have to invest in a van. So like there's like a growth curve. I have to hit a certain point on that growth curve before like a C2E2, how many packs of these things do you take to that?
Right.
I don't know, how the heck do you get them there? So you could spend a ton of money on a U-Haul and then, it's a flop and then you're driving that U-Haul back fully loaded and, crying the whole way home. Or, you go conservative and you sell out, and then what the heck do you do when you're sitting there, So
Count your money.
Go spend your money on the Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, well, get that amazing fantasy 15 I've always wanted, I guess. But
oh,
for yourself.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yes, sir.
And then you get yourself.
That's been one of the hardest things is like not spending the money I make on this on more comic books, right? Like you gotta have cash in this business to go and resupply and not end up in debt. But man, like there's some books that I'd really like to have, and maybe I could write it off as a business expense if I flip it over back, front and back on an Instagram post. But I've been pretty good about kind of withholding and reinvesting in the business. I haven't paid myself a dime since I've started this. All of it's gone right back into the business. I had to buy a shed so that I could, keep these things because they were so heavy. It was like parking a car in my office in my house, and you could tell the floor was starting to bow. So I bought a shed.
Wow.
And then I put them all in the shed, and then the foundation started to crack on the shed because I didn't support it in the middle like an idiot. So just today I was out in the heat transferring them into like this side room that's like on my slab foundation, and I don't know. I'm learning a lot as I go. Yeah.
So pretty soon you're going to look like Michael Scott driving around in your own little van.
Sebring.
I thought it would be cool to kind of skin a car with Comic Clear, or if I could, like make it clear so it looked like I was just sitting there on a frame. But yeah, probably not.
Hey, if there's a will, there's a way to do it.
I guess. Yeah.
But it's been a pleasure talking to you. I mean, this is amazing. The fact that this is even a possibility now, the fact that there's something out there that not only protects comics, but shows them off at the same time. I mean, there's so many comics, like we've been saying, that amazing Fantasy 15. If I'm sending that to CGC, I want it protected every step of the way until it gets put in that slab. So my last question for you is, how well do these ship when you have a comic inside of them?
I think it all depends on it all depends on the packaging, right?
Okay.
If you could ship a comic with a paper backing board, and if you use the right, um, if you use the right box and the right packaging, it's going to be fine. I mean, these are sturdy like this way, but they do
Yeah.
have some flex to them, and my mailman is a freaking gorilla, and I had to buy like a massive when I started really getting back into comics and buying a lot. He was taking them and just he would fold anything and cram it into my tiny mailbox.
Ooh.
So I had to buy a bigger, these will fold. If somebody wants to cram it into a mailbox, it will. If it falls onto a conveyor belt or off of a conveyor belt, or gets jammed up in something, like I don't know that a top loader would save a comic from that. I mean, you see slabs come back cracked all the time where the box was damaged by the postal service. So,
Yeah.
I don't think this isn't the end all be all solution for mailing comics, but it's a heck of a lot safer than than a paper backing board, I would say.
Makes sense. All right. So, like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It's been a pleasure just hearing your story and where it's kind of come in the past year. Because, I mean, I found out about you guys right around when I started this channel, which was back last July. And I think we got into contact right around September, October, when you were shipping out your first shipments and whatnot, and kind of just posting all the cool stuff on Instagram that you guys were posting. And I was like, hold on, there's a board that I can drop and it protects my comic. I mean, I'm a huge klutz. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So it was definitely something that I wanted to invest in, and I'm definitely going to be purchasing a stack of 25 soon. So
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, Monday.
of course.
Yeah, I think every time you reached out to me about doing this interview, I was about to run out. So I was like, I don't want to do any interviews and then people not be able to buy the product. So I kept having to postpone it. But I'm in a good place now, supply wise. I really appreciate it. You guys, talking with me and the enthusiasm and the support. But yeah, this is my first live interview and love it. Love your show.
That's awesome. Alex Garcia, these boards are Comic Clear. He's on Instagram. You can go check him out. And $30 for 25 boards, and that's shipped.
Yep, that's shipped. Within the U.S. And Chris, you said you were from Ontario.
Yes.
I cannot find a good way to ship to Canada that makes sense for the buyer.
I got you covered. I have a U.S. postal box.
Awesome. I need to find a distributor or a comic shop that I can partner with up there. That can.
There's a company here in Canada called Grosvenor, Grosnor. I'm not sure if you've heard of them before. If you have, please forgive me. Then, Grosvenor Distributing handles a lot of those materials that are meant for protecting collectibles, whether it's like sports card stuff, comic book stuff, records, everything that's really popular right now in pop culture. These guys seem to be slamming everything out there. They're even in Walmarts, to be honest with you, a lot of their products. But yeah, if you're looking for a Canadian distributor, if you think that this is a market that you think you could tap into, like I said, if you haven't heard of them, Grosvenor, Grosnor Distributing.
NOR. Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to look into it because I get asked multiple times a week, can you ship these to Canada? And right now, I mean, I could, but they weigh 3 pounds a piece.
Yeah.
And man, it's not cheap. And I mean, I found a good way to ship them in the US that is safe, is economical to the buyer, it doesn't cost an arm and a leg, but man, once it crosses over that border, it's pricey. So
Yeah.
And is your IG Comic Clear?
the IG is Comic Clear Boards.
Commentary boards. Okay.
And I'm gonna have to change that soon if I end up getting bags. So I've got to think about
Throw it up
that.
in the chat, in the comment section in the chat. Your IG.
There you go.
Awesome. Yep, there, you got it. Thank you.
All right. So let's talk Craven. And Steven, you're more than welcome to stay on if you would like. I mean, this is amazing. I'm so excited for this. I was pretty shocked that they didn't go the original route they were planning on going. But what do you guys think of who they casted?
You're not happy with Boner?
It is a kick-ass. Like, not to pun the hell out of everything that you're saying, but I've always been an amazing Spider-Man reader. My favorite Spider-Man story, above everything, not even close, is a 6-issue crossover miniseries over the 3 Spider-Man titles in the 80s. And I'm sure everyone can say it with me. It's The Death of Craven. And Mike Zeck's masterpiece when it comes to artwork, and I believe it was J.M. I can't Demetrius. I can't pronounce the last name properly of that man. So I'm thoroughly enjoyed that we're finally getting Craven.
Yeah.
I personally don't mind the idea of that Englishman being cast as Craven. I just kind of hope, in my mind, Craven's always been a large man in my mind, whether it's whether we get to see him animated or whether we get to see him in the comic book form. Craven is a very, very tall, very menacing, large man. He built like a brick. You know what? So, but when I think of the young man that's been cast, I think of him more of a very slim, very toned, like still in good shape. Don't get me wrong; he was in very good shape when he was in Godzilla. But I think of him as a very slim guy. So I hope that he bulks up a little bit. He doesn't have to be like Henry Cavill's Superman. He doesn't have to be that large. But I just hope that he brings the character justice, and I sure hope that he can get his facial hair the right way, because Craven has some pimp facial hair. Let me tell you, when he appears on whatever source of media that you're looking at, you know exactly who it is at all times, whether he's wearing a coat or whether he's wearing a lion's head or whatever. It's Craven. And you know 100% that Superman's in for a very bad time whenever Craven's in the room. I just hope that somehow the continuity that Sony is attempting is already well received, because as of right now, I'm not sure how Venom 2 and Let There Be Carnage is being received as a trailer. And I'm kind of curious what everyone's going to think of Morbius as well, because we're going to get those 2 offerings before we get the idea of Craven. And from what I'm understanding, Craven's supposed to be a standalone film without the Spider-Verse per se. But again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I think at first glance, whatever, I'm okay with the casting, because casting directors, this is what they do for a living. They see something that we may not see. He may have walked in and nailed an accent, that the person who they had in mind originally couldn't do. And we all know that Craven's going to have a fantastic accent too. So if he can nail that accent and put on an extra 25, 30 pounds to, make himself, menacing, is the only word that comes to my mind when I think of Craven. Like, it could be great, but then again, it could be not so great.
They said that he's supposedly did a killer scene and role in the movie Bullet Train that's coming up, and that's what locked him in for Craven.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I read that too.
That movie to see his performance, because you made a good point. Craven is larger than life.
Oh,
and
yeah.
what does he do? He hunts exotic animals for a living, so you got to be a little bit of a physical specimen yourself if you're going to be going after wild animals 3 times the size of you.
With old school weaponry, because he does go in with just a spear. He does go in with a knife. He doesn't necessarily always go in with a rifle or some kind of handgun or whatever. He's old school. Like, it is the reason why he's Craven the Hunter. It's not Craven the Soldier. He's going in old school. But yeah, and again, like, he's arguably my favorite of the Sinister Six. Like, to me, whenever we have the Sinister Six, if Craven's not there, it's just lacking, man. Like, we need something. We need the guy in the corner, the guy in the bushes, and it's Craven. And he's always the one that seems to always get his hands on Spider-Man first. When even when Doc Ock is coming at him, Spider-Man's getting around. But it's Craven that seems to have that hand on Peter Parker. In those moments when he has to deal with the Sinister Six.
100%.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the guy's a great actor, right? So like from an acting perspective, I'm not concerned at all that he could probably pull it off. The body is suspicious to me. Like, can they make him seem like an animal, right? Like he just came out of the jungle, right? But to me, it's kind of like this is his second Marvel property because he was Quicksilver, right?
Yeah.
So who else has been in a Marvel property where their second go at it was better than their first, right? Like Chris Evans, Michael Jordan, right? Like I've always liked them better as the next character that they played in the Marvel universe. So I'm hopeful that pattern will continue, and he'll knock this one out of the park. I liked him as Quicksilver too. So
yeah,
I thought he was phenomenal as Quicksilver.
Yes, agreed.
I like that.
I mean, in all honesty, if Fox didn't own the rights to Quicksilver, I don't think they would have killed him off. I honestly think they would have
Agreed.
kept him, and I think Sony saw something in him during that movie and was like, we want him to continue somewhere. We just don't have the role for him yet. And I was actually surprised. So this image came out before, I think actually before COVID, when they first started talking about No Way Home. But they were talking about Joel Kinnaman being the Kraven the Hunter that everyone was kind of hoping for. And I like that casting. I believe it was a fan casting. I believe it was more it was more like, this is who we would like to see as Kraven. This isn't who we think is going to be seen, but he could pull it off. And I mean, just comparing these two to each other, the facial hair is kind of there. But he has to get like that fierce look in his eyes. He has to have that perfect, like you said, the perfect build to really pull off Kraven. Because even with the accent, if you don't have this drive and this like look, it's kind of like Superman. You're falling short. You have to have the look to be the perfect Superman. Henry Cavill almost has that perfect look.
Yeah, good point.
Like Chris Reeves had the perfect look for Superman.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was just certain things about different characters throughout the years in any iteration of a comic where if they didn't nail the look, people didn't like them in that role. But they played perfect parts for that. So
And the one thing that I hope Aaron Taylor Johnson can bring forward is that Kraven, to me, in the years that I've been reading Kraven, as much as to me it comes in like seasons. So it would be like I'll go quite amount of time without reading a Kraven book, or if I can go back and get my hands on a 70s title that's in there. To me, Kraven is actually a very dark character. And I don't mean dark as a villain. I just mean dark that he's stuck in his own head. For those that have read The Death of Kraven, you'll realize how dark and brooding and like the struggle within his mind is there, dealing with the death of his parents in the motherland of Russia as a young man. And it really sculpted him moving forward. And he took a lot of his, anger out in his hunting, and that's how and why he actually hunted many times naked, or he was just wearing the bare minimum, and he would just go in with just a small knife. And so that's one thing I know that we all can agree on, that he's actually a very good actor. And I just hope that's the look, the body type. Yep, we're all going to expect Kraven to look that way when we get that first teaser trailer. It's the one thing that everyone's going to talk about. He either, yes, he looks like him, or B, he's not what we all imagine. But for those that who actually enjoy Kraven as a villain in the Spider-Man mythos, you got to remember how dark this man really, really is, and how I don't want to say stuck in his own head, like like a legend in his own mind. It's quite the opposite. He's stuck in his own head, kind of like a prison. And it's the hunting that releases himself, where he feels most natural, the blood on the hands kind of thing. And that's where he bathes in his own joy through the takedown of the kill. And that's something I really hope that he can pull off, because we have seen Aaron Taylor Johnson do some very interesting work. But Craven is not just going to be one dimensional. Craven is going to be very, very interesting to pull off as an actor.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they're making a movie for a villain, right, where he's the main character of his own movie, like, tells you that future story. I mean, you have to like him in this movie. Yeah. Like, they're not going to make this movie so that you hate him, right, and you want him to lose. So the next time he's in a movie, right, with Spider-Man or something like that, it's going to be a really interesting kind of psychological thing where who do you pull for, but yeah, I think as long as he can pull off that kind of primal, that primal look, and I think costume design is going to be a big part of that as well.
Yes.
Because you can
set location too.
They are with the costume. So I think they're probably going to play around with that, because he is, I wouldn't say he's bulky. I would say he's really, really fit and trim, right? Mm-hmm. And I'd kill for that kind of physique, But for a character like Craven, they're gonna have to find a way to make him, look almost like he came out of the WWE because I don't think he could actually get that big, in what is it, 2023? They're making the movie, like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know he's 5'11". He looks shorter, but he's 5'11". Okay. So if you put on, a couple little bit of a boot heel on him, put on 20 pounds, I think you can pull it off.
Yeah.
Definitely. Or shoot him from below.
Yeah.
I'll let Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise is short as anything. In the movies, he hangs. It's like, he doesn't look that short. So,
hey, if Wolverine can be 6'2", we can change the height of anyone.
That's right. That's right. Because growing up, Wolverine was not supposed to be tall at all. Like reading Wolverine in the books, he was supposed to be 5'4", I believe, what it was.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The pint-sized powerhouse Canadian
for a woman.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, Craven's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. Aside from like Alistair Smythe and like any villain that can really hunt Spider-Man is amazing, because they have the ability to sneak up on someone who can sense when you're sneaking up on him.
Right.
Like that's always just baffled me about Craven's ability as a hunter to be able to do stuff like that. And I've heard it kind of go both ways with Craven, whether he's going to be the villain of No Way Home or someone who actually tries to help Spider-Man out in No Way Home. Which it would be interesting to see if they played that other way, where he's kind of helping out against the Sinister Six that they're kind of building with bringing back Green Goblin and Electro and Doc Ock. Or he could be the last of the Sinister Six, because there are 5 right now if we put them all together. So
I did see like one of the conspiracy theory websites today. They were talking about it, that apparently the title for No Way Home is supposed to be actually a reference for the villains, that they've been pulled out of their own universe, and they're the ones that seem to have no way home. So they collectively band together, and we may get the Andrew Garfield, the Amazing Spider-Man Rhino as well.
Okay.
So that there's so many different rumors that are floating around this movie. All I know is that I'm at the point, as a hardcore Spider-Man fan, I'm actually trying to avoid it now, because I want to walk into this film as blind as possible. And that's not referencing Matt Murdock at all. I mean, I want to walk into this with it, because we all know apparently Charlie Cox finally gets to return as Matt Murdock in this, God willing. And I don't want to. I want to stop learning about this, but it's everywhere. You turn on your social media, whether you're part of the big three or not. Twitter, IG, Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, by the way, but it's like whenever there's something about Spider-Man, we're not talking about how bad Nick Spencer's run is. It's all about the possible characters and the actors that are associated with those characters returning to this movie. I even saw today that apparently Willem Dafoe is going to be in this now. Putting back on the Green Goblin outfit. But again, it was the one headline that I saw that was interesting was the No Way Home reference is actually to the villains, not to Peter himself.
Yeah, because from what I saw, or just from what I heard, and this came from, I believe it was Cosmic Wonder, it was a reference to an extra where Peter was sitting in a classroom and they basically, everyone knew that he was Spider-Man. They were told that he's Spider-Man, but you have to kind of pretend that you don't know because everyone's skeptical. I mean, you're hearing this from Mysterio, who has already kind of lied, and we know that he's a liar. And I mean, who knows how true it actually is? Because I mean, it's Mysterio,
a child, essentially. We're talking about a child.
No one knew him. So it was kind of interesting, and I think what they're going to do is have Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire swing by the school outside the window so people can see Peter Parker's here, Spider-Man's out there, and then you also have another Spider-Man somewhere else, and all different, all of the Spider-Man all over the place, and it's okay, so maybe this isn't the guy. Maybe we were completely off. And I mean, I don't think that it truly does reference Peter Parker, like you're saying, because it does kind of seem like this is more of a multiverse movie than anything else that's going to lead into a Sinister Six, almost like a Sinister Six team up, build up kind of thing, where we see them kind of come together and kind of meet each other and create that Sinister Six love-hate relationship that we've seen in the comics before, where we all know who everyone loves and we all know who everyone hates. And it's going to be an interesting movie, to say the least, because there's so much they could do with it, as long as they don't fall into the problems of Spider-Man 3, where there were too many villains, too many storylines all happening at once. I think they're going to knock it out of the park. I think Sony kind of learned from that. And I think Marvel's also kind of tightened the reins on Spider-Man. Okay, you can do this, but this is just stupid. We're not doing this piece. They're giving creative license to Sony and to their producers while also making sure that it has to fit into the MCU in some way, shape, or form. So I'm excited for the stuff that Sony's doing. For the first time in probably about 5 years, I'm kind of, like you're saying, Chris, taking a step back from the rumors and whatnot. I mean, it's hard having a YouTube channel where I talk about the rumors, but
Yes.
I'm trying to take as much of a step back from that and be okay, these are just rumors. I'm not taking them at face value right now like I used to. And I'm just trying to see, is this something that could happen? Is this something that's going to happen? And what do I want to see happen? I mean, I would love to see the three of them team up against Kraven, Mysterio, everyone. Just a giant fight scene throughout all of Manhattan or Queens or wherever, almost like what we got in Into the Spider-Verse, but in a much bigger way.
Right. And if they were somehow able to pull it off, I think we collectively, the four of us, could agree, how wonderful would it be to have Michael Keaton's Vulture and Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin sharing the screen at the same
100%.
time? And again, we could have Tom Holland standing right beside Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire leading the charge in there. Now, personally, my favorite Spider-Man is Andrew Garfield. Not to take anything away from what Tobey did to lead the pack and to put Spider-Man, on the big screen finally. And what Tom Holland's doing today, I think Tom Holland is a very good casting. I like the fact that they took the character back to just a young man, and actually had a very young man actor portray him. Personally, I understand that they had to make it modern and have him and have Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man as a father figure, and that's how they want to introduce him and bring him in slowly that way because they didn't want to rehash the origin story for a third time. And God bless them for doing it. They did it a real fun way. But for me, I liked Andrew Garfield's performance. Again, Amazing
Agreed.
Spider-Man 2 was really, again, they fell into Mark Webb fell into that curse of Spider-Man 3, where they just try to cram as many villains, into a Spider-Man movie as possible. But the death of Gwen scene where she's falling through the clock tower as opposed to falling off the Brooklyn Bridge, that was a beautiful scene to
Yeah.
watch. Mark Webb did a very good job with that, and that's, for me right now, that's a scene that stands out in Spider-Man aside from the performance that we got in Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock. But again, I would just absolutely love to see the three of them on the same screen. But I do know, like, Andrew Garfield has come out many, many times and said he has no affiliation with this, and we all know that he got burned by Sony, contractually. Yeah. But yeah, it would be wonderful. But again, I'm almost ready to hit that pause button on any Spider-Man news that's outside of comic books.
I learned my lesson on all those rumors when it came to WandaVision. Everybody had a theory about what next week was going to bring, and everybody was wrong.
Yeah.
There were some things that were pretty obvious that everyone's like, okay, she's going to be, so and so. But all I want, my only expectation out of this movie is to go into it, sit through it, and to have somebody who has a professional film background write a great story that I'm entertained by.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be this puzzle piece that fits into this masterpiece of
Not at
a
all.
larger universe. I think it has to fit in there, but I just want to go in there and say, like, that was a really cool movie. I didn't expect that to happen. Like, I was surprised by some things. There were some things that, like, fan service I expected, and they were done really well. And, I got like a good feeling out of it. But, I just want to watch a good movie. I'm most of these movies that I watch, whether it's Venom or, the New Mutants, that kind of thing. Like, you see all the reviews and people are like, oh, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I think they're fine. Like, for what they are, you sit there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and by the end of it, you were entertained. And does it fit perfectly within the broader comic universe? Maybe not. Maybe there's some elements that didn't fit well, but at the end of the day, like, this is one form of storytelling. Comics are another. They reference each other, they're based on each other, but I'm okay with a little bit of creative license in some of this stuff.
Do you feel like Spider-Man is due for like a blockbuster Spider-Man film? One that crushed.
Yeah.
I feel like they've fallen short just a little bit and just haven't done justice to the Spider-Man franchise. I hope this film is it.
For me, I think still the best MCU Spider-Man appearance we've had is still Civil War, his introduction.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would love to have a Spider-Man movie. Whether we're talking about the Tobey, the Andrew Garfield, or the Tom Holland stuff, I would love to have one that we could put it up there with, Captain America's The Winter Soldier. That film, I think, it's something that's just a powerhouse of a film. That when it comes to the MCU movies, everyone's like, oh, I don't like Thor: Dark World. I don't, or I don't like the Age of Ultron, or they can punch holes in Endgame or whatever. But the one that everyone seems to consistently talk about in a favorable way is, the Winter Soldier. I would love for Marvel Studios to put out, I'm not going to say a Winter Soldier type of film, but I want them to have that kind of success where, it's not that many times you hear anyone speak negatively about that film. But yeah, Mark from Legion of Comics just said that Spider-Man 2, the Dr. Octopus film, is probably is the best one. Yeah, singularly, I would agree. Again, but that's because we had fantastic acting from the man that played Dr. Octopus as well. Yeah. He played a flawed character perfectly. About great casting. Again, as soon as they showed an image of that man. That the actor, I'm like, oh my god, he looks just like Dr. Octopus. He doesn't even need to put the glasses on. But when he pulled those glasses down in the film, I'm like, oh my god, that's so savory. That's just so good. But yeah, for me, the MCU, the best appearance is still Civil War.
Yeah,
the whole Captain America and Spider-Man quick exchange where they're talking about from what borough they're from, where Cap looks at him and Spider-Man's holding up, that container. Was it a container? And he was holding up a container. He's like, "Hey kid, where are you from?" He's like, "Queens." And Cap walking away stops and looks back and said, "Brooklyn." I was like, "Oh, that's just terrific writing."
Yeah.
It's so minimal, but it's so perfect because totally that's how they would interact with each other.
Yep. The quips that Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland have are the reason why I like those two Spider-Man versions over Tobey Maguire. I don't think Tobey had a single true quippy line in any of those three movies. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. They could have been. It's been a while since I've seen them, but none of them really stuck with me. The Andrew Garfield scene where he's like, "Oh my God, you have a knife. That's my one flaw. Like, I can't do a knife." I was laughing so hard. My dad was laughing. I mean, it was a perfect moment. And the scene that you're talking about where it's like Queens, Brooklyn. Oh my God, you've got a metal arm? That's so cool. Like
it catches it singularly.
Oh yeah.
Like it's a perfect version of Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield obviously didn't nail Peter Parker, but I've always said that he played a different version of Peter Parker. Yep. He played the new style, the new kind of nerd of Peter Parker. I mean, way back when Spider-Man first came out, we looked at nerds totally different, and that word even totally different than we do now. I mean, now it's kind of like you're like that hipster nerd type of person. And I feel like that's kind of how they went with Amazing Spider-Man. And I really think that the original Spider-Man movies kind of fell flat on Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker with his science background. And I also, the reason why I love Andrew Garfield's the best isn't just because of Andrew Garfield. It's because of the storyline, the hidden storyline of the parents.
His father.
That is just so amazing in those movies that I wanted to know where they were going to take that. And even if they just came out with a 20-minute feature of where that was going to go and just kind of have those characters play it out, I'd be totally okay. And we could end the movies there. That would be my third movie and we'd be good to go. I mean, honestly.
Do you guys think you would like the Tom Holland version less if they had gone all the way back to the beginning and redone his origin story with him? Because what I like about Tom Holland, the performance, like, is they came in right. I mean, all that stuff was assumed, and he didn't have to go through it for a third time. Like it got old, and like Andrew Garfield. I liked his performance. I liked his Spider-Man. I liked everything about it, but like the first time you sit through that movie, you're like, I've seen this before,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. The only difference was Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker had to deal with death more than the two other actors had to. Tobey Maguire had to deal with Uncle Ben's death in the first one.
Yeah,
that was kind of it, other than the death of villains. But Peter had to deal with the death of Uncle Ben, and he also had to deal with the death of Captain Stacy. Then he had to deal with the death of Gwen, and then that was the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2. When we got introduced to Tom Holland, the famous line between Peter and Ned was, "Spider's dead, Ned." And that's the origin story right there. It's just like he told him the truth. Yeah, he got bit, but Spider's dead. There's no reference to Uncle Ben. I had the opportunity to meet the Russo brothers at an autograph signing in Cleveland, and at this point, we found out that Marvel Studios had obtained the shared rights to Peter Parker, and I was over the moon. And I got them to sign a Winter Soldier poster, and we were found at the time we were found out they were going to be doing Civil War. So I asked them, and I said, "Is it true that we're going to have Peter Parker in just a hoodie, in a costume, or what?" And Anthony kind of paused for a moment, and he looked at me, and he looked at my tattoo. I have a half sleeve of Spider-Man here, and he looked at me and he said, "I can only tell you this: you're going to love him, and we have no Uncle Ben story." And God bless him, he was right. Like it's something that we haven't, that as Spider-Man fans we haven't had to deal with in this incarnation of him on the big screen, is that unnecessary origin story that everybody and their mother knows and has been told a handful of times with different fascinating directors. And that's why I just found Civil War's Spider-Man to be such just a fresh take and just a fun take. And that's why I think, again, not to keep repeating myself, that's why I think the best appearance of the MCU Spider-Man is still his first appearance in Civil War.
I hope they do that with the Fantastic Four. I hope they skip over the introduction whenever they, introduce them. I hope they skip over the origin story, and it's a future version. Everybody knows it. You don't have to retell it, because I think that's what messed up the last, iteration of Fantastic Four is like, how many times can you tell that same story just with different characters and make it interesting, right? They're going to have to do it a third time, and then they're going to have to change stuff, and then it gets further away from the comics. And I just want to see some cool Fantastic Four, action and some character establishment without having to go through that whole thing again. So,
Mark from Legion of Comics just put a comment up that he still cries at the death of Gwen. I'm presuming at the end of the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'll tell the quick story about when I saw that film for the first time. I knew when Spider-Man, fired his web towards her to an attempt to catch her through the, all the broken pieces of the clock tower as she was falling down. We all knew she wasn't going to make it. Like, this is it. This is how Sony's changing it up. They're taking away from the Brooklyn Bridge. It's going to be right here. But my God, you were pulling for the kid, man. Like, you can get her, man. You can get her, and he got her. But when her head made contact with the concrete down below, I can remember saying, "Oh," so loud that the people in the row in front of me and their row in front of them turned back and looked at me, and I'm like, I have this issue. I know what happens, but still, it was so dramatic. And then to see, I think they did her character justice, where Peter's semi-retired. Like, he went through like a full year. You saw, the seasons change in his life, and he just wanted nothing to do with it because he had failed her father, even though he said to, or he promised his father that he would leave her alone, and he went back on the promise. And in the end, it was him that had a hand in her death, indirectly or directly, however you want to argue the counterpoint. But yeah, so to touch on what Mark was saying, yeah, man, I'm right there with you. The death of Gwen was cinematically perfectly done, even though it was a fresh take on what was done in the early 1970s or late 60s when the story was first told by Jerry Conway.
Definitely. I mean, Gwen has always been my favorite Spider love interest. She's always been that very interesting character who's kind of been not played out. I mean, MJ, the relationship between MJ and Peter has been played out over the years. But with the introduction of Spider-Gwen, I don't think we've actually seen a non-Spider-Gwen version of Gwen in the comics since the death of Gwen. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was always a great story. The way that it was told, and then to have that story on the big screen, and the chemistry alone between Andrew and Emma Stone was just flawless. It was something that I feel that Toby and Kirsten just never lined up throughout all three movies. Like, you felt it in number one, and then it kind of started to fall away, like that chemistry. It kind of started to fall away in number two. And I also didn't like how MJ was written in those original movies. She was the damsel in distress. And obviously that's how she's played in the comics. But can you think of a scene in any of those movies where you can remember her line and not just her screaming? Like,
good point.
Right. No, she has no Margot Kidder moments, like, you have me, who has you, from the first Superman movie. You're absolutely right. She doesn't have those memorable lines. But that's a fantastic take, my man. Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to be ordering something from you on Monday, so Steven. Thanks.
Awesome. Hey,
I got guys. Chris, thanks for joining. Chris, Comics Lounge, thanks for having me as always.
of course.
Take care, guys. Thanks, man.
So we'll stay on. We'll keep talking. But is there anything you guys want to talk about, or you guys want to keep talking about Spider-Man? I mean, I can talk Spider-Man all day long. I mean, he's
So
literally
can I.
more than 3 times my collection, I want to say. I've got
Yeah.
2 boxes of him full and then some. So
I get it. Like I keep him close by, my man. I get it. Like
I actually just gave Amazing Spider-Man 850 to a buddy of mine who's a local famous artist. He drew The Simpsons, Garfield for a short time. He did Gary B's logo. His name's Ken Wheaton.
yeah, I know
And
Ken Wheaton.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I said to him, I was like, I've always wanted to have a local artist do a sketch cover for me. It's a piece of history. It's a piece of where I grew up. And I had an Amazing Spider-Man sketch cover, and I was like, I want you to do something with this, but I don't know what I want to do with it yet. I'm thinking either like Spider-Man in the middle with Venom and Green Goblin kind of saying something jokey on the side. There he is, Mark from Legion of Comics. And we actually decided on doing a role reversal of ASM 606. So let me go grab that for a second.
How's it going, guys?
All right,
Hey,
my
Mark.
brother. How are you?
So
Good.
this
good.
comic
Good.
that I have is a 9.6 that I bought for my wife. Instead of
iconic
him
cover.
kissing Black Cat, it's going to be kissing MJ, and Black Cat kind of be like, ooh. So it was just something really cool to add to the personal collection. Again, the fact that it's a local artist is just a beautiful addition. And then we're going to send it off to CBCS to get it graded and protected for the rest of its life.
Nice.
Sweet.
Mark, you were saying your favorite Spider-Man iteration is Tobey's number 2?
My favorite Spider-Man movie is Spider-Man 2. I just think hands down, as you put it, as a singular Spider-Man film, it's the best one.
Right.
It covers the Spider-Man No More story. It kind of dives in closer with his relationship with May and dealing with the loss of Ben. It fleshes out his complicated relationship with Harry. There's a lot of setup there for things that would come later, whether they panned out well or not. Alfred Molina absolutely killed it as Dr. Octopus.
Powerhouse actor.
Yeah, the teaser at the end of Harry finding his dad's Green Goblin get up. There was a lot in there in that moment, that go get him Tiger moment from MJ. There's a line that MJ said other than go get him Tiger.
Yeah, you're right.
They definitely I can see why people have their problems with it. They're very tropey toward comic books. I think Sam Raimi played into a specific style on purpose. He leaned into like that more classic style Spider-Man with it. You can almost see like 2 different time eras in those movies, like the modern time that they were shot in, as well as like the 60s that he was kind of referencing probably from his childhood with his experience of the character. So I thought that was awesome. And it creates this kind of timeless effect for those films. But they always hold that same feel to them, except when you see like Macy Gray singing in them, that really kind of puts a definite time in standing around for a minute.
Yeah.
But
I always wanted to see who Webb would have casted as MJ for Amazing Spider-Man 3. I always thought that would have been an interesting dynamic to see where from Emma Stone do we go for MJ.
They had a lot of casting people that you can find in the people that were casted, things that were recorded with them.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember where it was, but in the special features or something like that. But like Black Cat was casted in the movie. You can find her. She's actually in the theatrical for a very short part, but
yes.
But there's a lot of I think they had an actress for MJ that you can see in the special features in a couple of scenes, or you can go back and look it up. But they had her cast about to roll out a lot of stuff, and they pulled back on it.
There were tons of hidden Easter eggs in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Just from when they walk through Oscorp there, and you see Dr. Octopus's tentacles moving around. But there's also, if you were to hit the pause button and zoom in, they talk about Morbius being one of the keystroke buttons and Venom as well. You know, that there was so many things that Webb was, that had in mind. But again, I just the Green Goblin factor, I think at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2 kind of sealed its own fate. Like, I don't know if the studio hands went in and just, we can't have Spider-Man without the Green Goblin, like we can't have Batman without the Joker. Like, we can. Spider-Man has a fantastic rogues gallery, even the B and C and D type characters, go get Tarantula, you can make him into an interesting character. But yeah, the web films, like especially with Amazing Spider-Man 2, that last 25, 30 minutes, it just crammed in the Green Goblin unnecessarily, in my opinion. But
Agreed.
again, we did get the wonderful experience of Gwen's death, or at least visually, Gwen's death there. And again, Mark, that hits me hard too whenever I watch it. What's that?
You're a sick man.
Yeah. Hardcore, man. Hardcore is
I
the
didn't care
term.
for Jamie Foxx's Electro. I don't like the way they played him. I don't like the suit that they did for him. I don't like how they had Max acting before he got to the suit. It didn't fit the style of the first film at all.
It was almost a parallel take of what Jim Carrey's Riddler was. Just the silly, weird guy that looked up to this hero kind, and then, for whatever reason, then becomes a villain, and now he hates the character because things about, like we saw before, Joel Schumacher attempted it. But again,
the animated show. It was a computer animated show in the early 2000s that ran for like 2.5 seasons on MTV. It was actually really good, but they had that's how Electro wasn't that. Like Max was, but he was a college age student, but it was weird the way that they played him.
It was an interesting take. It turned out to look like a little bit of just a hot mess. But again, so Mark, let's just ask Steve and Mark, what is your favorite Tom Holland appearance as Spider-Man then?
I gotta agree with you on Civil War. I don't know. There's just something so cool about the fact that he came out of nowhere, and I just really love that. I mean, I think he contributed so much to that battle, and it was so entertaining, and it was the first time you saw him, but you knew everything about him, right? I think once you start getting into the movies where there's more of like your traditional plot, your traditional storyline type of thing, those are entertaining, but I don't know, there's just something about that was kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like when Doctor Strange brought all the people back, at the end of Infinity War, where everyone is just like, yes, in the theater. That's the feeling I got when he flew out of nowhere and like, he webbed the shield out of Captain America's hand, and it was just, I don't know, it was just like, it was just right there instantly.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
And I completely agree. That's definitely, to this day, the best Spider-Man movie in the MCU.
I think my favorite Tom Holland moment has to be the last 30 to 40 seconds of his performance in Infinity War.
I knew you were going to go there. As soon as he said the seconds, I'm like, oh, I know where he's going. And Hoarder's Hide, I apologize if I'm loud, man.
Mr. Stark, does the audio sound okay? Because I'm working with new audio equipment as of today.
There is a little feedback that I'm hearing, but I don't want to say it's you, but it started when you came on.
That's kind of like saying it's me, Chris, but it's okay. If you hear audio, let me know. Scott was just saying that the audio is pretty quiet on his end.
It's definitely picked up now. It's better for sure.
Yeah, I got this new microphone.
Ooh, is that LED?
So when you know when it's hot or not. Chip Gettler sent it to me. That dude. The White Shadow strikes again. Nice.
And you don't want to put it in the screen because then you're blocking out all those beautiful comics and posters behind you.
No, because it'd be sitting on my keyboard.
Well, that too.
Steven, I got a quick question real quick. What size sizes do your backer boards come in?
What size? Say it again.
Do your backer boards come in?
Oh, current, silver, and gold right
So
now.
you got all three?
Yep. Yep.
You don't do magazines yet?
No, we're that's on the roadmap. I was saying earlier the next thing on the roadmap, the next exit point is backing or OPP plastic bags, and then after that, I'm going to start doing the magazine boards probably, and if I can find a good quality vendor, top loaders. So.
Nice. Yeah, I actually first found your products from Chip Getler, the same guy who sent me this. He did a fantastic review for him on
I
his
like
channel.
Chip.
Yeah, Chip is A1.
He commented on a post, one of my early posts, and it was pretty negative. I was like, oh man, that's the first negative thing I've heard from somebody, And I can't remember how we got to talking, but he and I started talking. He was like, yeah, I'll try a pack. And then like he just kept buying them, and he kept like he did his review, and it was really good. And I was
He's
like
the world's nicest guy.
I won that guy over, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's a super cool guy. I like him a lot.
You definitely sold him on your product. And then another YouTuber named Flash6792 ordered a pack and did a review. If you want to see your product reviewed on another channel, it's Flash6792. And his posted about probably a month and a half ago, but he doesn't put out daily content, so it should be easy to find.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. I'll check it out. Yeah, Chip's a cool guy.
Chris, I get it. I'm right on the border of Canada.
I'll let you in on a secret. It's the kid brother syndrome that Canadians have to the gigantic United States. But again, apologies if I was loud, and apologies for saying apologies loud. But yeah.
My father-in-law always calls me Canadian because I love hockey, so I understand.
So, Chris, if I were to say to you what a hockey bag is, you'll know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, if I were to say to you, there's a difference between a duffel bag and a hockey bag, would you agree or disagree?
Oh, 100%.
Yes, sir. See, so
now if you were gonna say to yourself, Chris, the comic vet, because we got a lot of Chris's in here. If you're going to say to yourself, like hypothetically, you do a YouTube or a Google search to try to prove your own point, what kind of results would you expect to find?
So the backstory is, boys, Sunday night.
Oh my God!
Sunday night we were talking about Army of the Dead.
Okay.
And basically, it's a heist zombie movie, and so the characters have to go in and rob Vegas before Vegas blows up. So they're walking around with very large black bags. And I made the comment when I was talking about my take on the film, like, yeah, they're walking around with very large, hockey bags full of American greenbacks.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, who's in Georgia, and Ryan, who was on the panel as well, who is in Houston, Texas, had no idea what I was talking about because there are no man, they ripped on me. It was the ongoing joke, and
Dale,
I'm like,
Dale in the chat is who fired that up.
Yeah, Dale of Suspense. Yeah, he did, and then it just became this big,
it's
big cataclysm of an event that happened, and then so I decided afterwards, I got to back myself up here. Like I can't go out with these guys poking fun at the fact that I referred to something as a hockey bag because I was saying a duffel bag is something that's entirely different.
Yep.
So I Google searched hockey bag, and goddamn, the first thing that came up was hockey bag / duffel bag. And being an honest guy, like I don't want to take shots at these guys. I decided just to screenshot that, and I threw it up on IG and said, "Well, damn, it's both." So yeah,
dude, I haven't laughed that hard, and I don't know how long.
But yeah, it was it made for good content.
See, here's the thing.
If you can't laugh at yourself, and if you can't poke fun at the differences in cultures that you grew up in, what can you laugh at, right? Like, but yeah.
So like between Chris, myself, and Ryan from the Cosmic Campfire, we do a lot of content together. We have like an an unofficial running tally board of Canada versus America, so it kind of just played into that as well.
USA.
But yeah, no, it's just whenever there's a type of creator that's a Canadian, I got to spotlight it because there's not that many of us.
It seems like there's more and more. I feel like we're behind.
So
He gets
Mark,
tallies for things like writers and artists. We get tallies for things like American currency. Like
when you think of a duffel bag, can you fit yourself inside a duffel bag?
I mean, I'm not that big, Chris.
No. To me, when I think of a duffel bag, I think of something that you would, you pack your change of clothes in if you go to a gym, or something that gets stored in your overhead on an airplane. To me, a duffel bag is not something the size of your traditional large sports bag, for lack of a better term, that you would store a full set of gear in. Like your football shoulder pads and cleats and all that kind of protective equipment. Yeah.
Think of the Punisher when he walks into like his lair and he's got the big black bag and he throws it up on his table and he does the long unzip and he starts pulling out all these different assault rifles out of his duffel bag.
Hockey bag. Let me correct you. That's a hockey bag.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I consider a duffel bag, but I don't think they're one size fits all. Now there's smaller ones that you would put your sneakers and your jock strap in, Chris. That sure you could call that a duffel bag, or you just call it your gym bag. Like. Aren't
you a Casey Jones fan?
Me?
A TMNT?
I mean, I enjoy TMNT, but like,
what does he carry?
Huh?
What does he carry around?
A hockey mask.
And
a hockey stick.
And
I don't think he carries it in a hockey bag though. He wears it on his back, like
it's a hockey bag.
Like what is a quiver? He keeps it in like a quiver, doesn't he?
I always thought he carried around a hockey bag. I'd have to check that. It's been a while since I've watched anything.
All that stuff in and out of it. I don't know in all sincerity because like I enjoy the Ninja Turtles, but it's more of like a movies growing up kind of thing. And I read the comics, but in like collected volumes, and I'm like on number 9 out of however 30 whatever there are, But I'm sure that he stores them in a hockey bag unless he doesn't have hockey sticks in it, and then it's no longer a hockey bag. Like in my opinion, like a golf bag is a golf bag, like a golf club bag. That's specifically for that. A baseball bag is specifically a baseball bag because it has a slot for baseball bats, the balls. It's specific. A duffel bag you can put anything in. You can put hockey sticks, large amounts of cash when you're raiding Vegas, dead prostitutes, whatever you need to put in it.
Let me stop you right there. For those of us who played hockey or play hockey. The bag is large enough where you can get all your equipment, and you wear a lot of equipment when you play ice hockey. But the one thing you can't get in there is your hockey stick. So generally what you do is you put it on top of the bag, you zip it up, put it on top of the bag, and pick up the handles, and you kind of walk with it where the sticks, or generally if you're going to play hockey, you try to bring 2 or 3 sticks because they pop really easily.
Now that's a hockey bag. It looks like a jersey. You can't rob a bank with that. They'll see you coming from a mile away.
It's got your spot for skates, your spot for gear.
Yeah.
Duffel bags don't have spots for skates.
Au contraire, I can send you just solid black bags, man. I'm going to flex the hell out of being Canadian now.
Yeah. One for Chris.
Every AOK that you get from Chris is going to be coming in a hockey bag.
Ketchup chips, all dressed chips, fresh maple syrup. Yeah. Craft dinner.
Well, that's what we were talking about. That every time Chris mails books now, it has to be in hockey bags.
I can't afford it.
What is up, Lee?
Uh-oh.
See, I can pick up a duffel bag for about $20, $30. That hockey bag probably cost me $60, $70, $80.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There's a difference in them. That's my point.
Oh, yeah.
Let's ask Lee. Lee's on the other side of the world, literally in Australia. What is the difference between a hockey bag and a duffel bag? And we've already covered
not fair. You'd have to ask someone who lives in, say, Eastern Europe. Ask someone who's from Sweden or Austria, or your friend actually who's in Belgium. Yeah, they play ice hockey in Belgium. So you can ask.
They're not good at it, but they play it.
Well, they do show up at international hockey.
What's up, Whack Comics? If you're
Dude, it's
just
like
joining us,
4
we were
a.m.
talking comics and Craven and Comic Clear and all of that about 40 minutes ago, but it's kind of divulged into duffel bags versus hockey bags.
It's Chris's fault because he's Canadian.
There's no fault in being Canadian.
No, in the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of pickups this week, you put hockey in the hockey bag and duffel in the duffel bag.
Boom, there it is. I told y'all.
What is duffel?
Oh, it's anything except just this and that.
And dead prostitutes.
Yeah,
And dead prostitutes.
yeah.
Well done.
I don't know. I don't want to know what you're hiding or hoarding over there, buddy. So actually today I just went to my local comic shop, dropped off all of my Pokemon cards that I found from 95 that I had just been holding on to for years and didn't even know I still had. As well as that Pirates Wonder Woman statue that I knew I wasn't going to enjoy it. I knew that it wouldn't stay in the collection for long.
That was
So
a gift for your daughter.
I gifted something back to her.
Okay,
So
you should definitely specify that before you tell your watchers that you gave away your daughter's birth gift.
oh, they don't watch this. They don't even know
Okay.
that I do this.
You just Steven, if you don't know, Chris is a proud new dad of a brand new variant. So he just had his second kid. And
Congratulations.
he did a statue
Thank
unboxing
you.
on his channel of a
Yes.
statue that was a gift for his brand new precious baby daughter.
And you sold it?
And then now he's telling us he sold it.
I
Did you
traded
sell it to David Adams? Like, who did you sell it to?
I traded it with my local comic shop. He's like, I'm just gonna put it up. It's gonna be a really cool talking piece, and if it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And he was like, so what do you want in return for this? I was like, I want something truly Wonder Woman. So I did pick up a Wonder Woman pop for her with that $10 that he gave me for it. But
That's a good trade.
yeah,
The pop looks more kitty too, you know.
exactly.
Like, if you wanted to let your daughter actually, like when she starts grabbing on things and holding things, I mean, you can open that and let her literally play with it. She can't choke on it or nothing. She can actually
Exactly.
enjoy it.
And I mean, it wasn't a really great looking statue. I would have kept it if it had a little bit more of a Wonder Woman-esque, but it literally just looked like a woman in a Wonder Woman costume. The
It looked
face
like a
was
lady
kind of
you'd be standing behind trying to get some
messy.
concessions at a ball game. It was decked out in the Pirates gear, right?
So it was basically Wonder Woman's costume, just in pirate. So nothing major. But while I was there, I found out that when I stopped by Wednesday, my We Live trade paperback was just delivered right after I left.
Oh, fantastic.
So I picked that up this afternoon, and I'm going to read it as soon as I get off.
You're in
start
for
reading
such a
that.
treat, my man. You're in for such a
And
treat.
I've got the single issue copies coming in too.
Hands down, one of the single best reads I've read in years.
Which
And
one is
I
it?
have to read it before Out of Body comes out Wednesday.
Well,
That way I
Out
can
of
hop
Body
on that
is
one.
not by the Miranda brothers. Inaki is just doing the cover art for cover A's as well as the interiors. But We Live, Inaki and his brother Roy did 100% of the book, as well as like Roy is worked in the music industry, so he has a lot of because he still lives in Spain. Even doesn't speak a
Okay.
lick of English, you know. Like he can understand some good English, you know.
Yeah.
But he got people in the musical industry that he's tied in with to do like soundtrack for it. And you can go on YouTube and listen to some of the music from it. So as you're reading it, you hit these QR codes. I highly suggest the first read through. Don't ignore that. Hit those QR codes. Like normally that's a weird thing to do when you're reading, but it's not lyrics to it. It just adds so much to the story. It is something, man. It is such an emotional ride. And it's just 5
I
issues.
can't wait.
It's a book called We Live from Aftershock Comics.
Yeah, it's just
So
the artwork alone is why I wanted to pick up Out of Body, because I really do love Inaki's
Mhm.
artwork. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
He's done a lot.
phenomenal.
Go back and look into what he's done. He's been around for a long time, at like 2000 AD, and then Vertigo, and then DC Comics for 12 years. But he's not like Clayton Crane or Peach Momoko's, so you don't hear him just talk around in the spec circles all the time. The more you get out there and read stuff, and you don't always, if you're just read books, you don't always stop to check who did what in it. You're just following the story. But when you go back and look, you're going to find that you probably crossed over his work and didn't even realize it.
Well, and I saw that he did some Harley Quinn a while back too. So I actually went back to check if I had any that my wife had picked up back then, and I did have a couple. I think I had 46 and 49. I think he did. I mean, again, the artwork is phenomenal in them. So I'll definitely hang on to them, and I can't wait to have a conversation with him about his artwork because it's amazing.
A is insane.
Yeah,
absolutely insane.
So was the trade released this past Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to have to go hunting tomorrow. I've been waiting for this because my LCS didn't pick up the series originally, and I would have spotted it easily on the rack Wednesday. So I'm going to have to go hit up some of his competitors, I guess, tomorrow or Sunday, so I can finally read it. Because the one thing that every Sunday night when I join Mark and Ryan is when they start delving into We Live, I always kind of try to hit the pause button. I'm like, guys, just hold up. Let me get the trade first and then get into it, because, I know that they both have an affinity for this book and that they both love the story thoroughly. So it's the one thing that I kind of feel like I've really messed out on, just because my LCS, because it's a smaller one, doesn't necessarily go and get a lot of those smaller independent books. But if the trade is now officially out, I'm going to go hunt for it so I can have it for this weekend and just rip through it so I can finally get in the know.
See, and I had to order it.
Just let me know. My LCS is a huge advocate of this book as well.
Okay,
I even ended up with 2 sets, and I gave a set away because I believe in this book so heavily. He ordered 3 copies of the trade, and it's something that I can just grab it and put it on a carrier pigeon. How do we mail stuff to Canada? How does that work?
A hockey bag.
In a hockey bag. There it is. Put it in a hockey bag.
Boom. You pitch that down the middle, and I will take it downtown.
Knocked it right out. Home run there.
If you mail it in a duffel bag, though, they'll burn it at the border.
But yeah.
Make sure you write on it in hockey tape.
Yeah, but send it to Steve so he can put the plastic back in the back and then ship it up my way for better protection.
No, but in all sincerity, if you need a copy, just let me know.
I will let you know. I'll try to hit up a couple different shops tomorrow to see if they have it, and then if I can't, then I'll let you know, my man. I appreciate that.
Of course. Yeah, that's one that Sunday nights are intentionally a spoiler-filled look back on the week of comics. Just full spoilers, breaking down every book that the 3 of us, and whenever people hop in and out, just going in on them. But we have just naturally not really spoiled. For issues 1 and 2 as it was coming out, we talked about and broken down. Then after that, we're like, dude, people just need to read this. That's all we're going to say is go pick it up. Do not sleep on this book. And me and Chris talked about it early on, and he said he looked at it, it's not really in his wheelhouse, and I completely understood it. Completely made sense. But you cannot define the genre of this book. You have no clue what this book is until this epic first time you've seen what they do in this book, the way they play this. What you think it is changes every issue, and then what it turns out being is the last thing you would ever expect. And after we read that, and Chris, go get it. You have to get it. This is in your wheelhouse. You just didn't know it. We didn't.
Yeah, Chris, I had to actually order it from Previews pull list online for it to be shipped to my LCS because he wasn't planning on picking any up. He sold out of his. I think he ordered 10 of each issue just because I don't think anyone put it on their pull list, or someone might have put it on their pull list, and it just made sense to get a few of them. And he always usually does that with new books, especially when it's an independent, because he loves independents, the guy who owns my shop. He's a huge Hulk fan, a huge Thing fan, but he's been talking recently that the independents are where it's at. And I mean, I completely agree with them. The stories that are in these independents are fire. But but I asked him last Wednesday, and I said, hey, I know that We Live came out for the trade paperback. Did you get any? And he goes, in all honesty, no, I didn't. If you want one, you can order it on previews and it will come in probably by next week. And like I said, literally to the day, that next Wednesday, as I was leaving the shop, to
Did he freeze or did I freeze?
Oh, I think we lost him. Chris, we lost your last sentence that you were saying.
Oh, so as I left the shop, 2 minutes later, the shipment for that book came in, and I did end up picking up. I think it was issue number 2 in the single issue, and then today when I got there, it was issues 3 and 4. And I think they're all cover A. I know one. I think issue 1 had to be a second print or a third print.
Well, they've done second and third prints now. They came out strong with 3 prints for number 1 that are all the same cover. It's like bright green on the first one, red on the second one, and then the third one looks like it's actually you found it inside the world of We Live, where it's tattered, has water stains colored onto it. But they have like a 1 in 15 variant, a few different retailer variants, not a lot. But then they just did A covers when it came out. Then, of course, the second prints as the demand is going crazy on them.
Yeah. And I mean, I love these small print run comics. I mean, what is being done in the comics world right now with small prints and independent, like not even like the mainstream independents, but like these new pop-up, like I've done Ace Comics. I've interviewed their owner twice now on my channel. I mean, everything that he's been doing is just amazing. It's so much fun talking to him. But we're almost at that 2-hour mark. I don't know what you guys got going on the rest of the night. I'm over on the East Coast. I know Mark and Chris are. I'm going to probably head to bed soon.
Chris.
Yeah,
Steven, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me. Love the conversation. Come back anytime.
Of course. You're always more than welcome to join next week. So same time, same place, every Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you guys again soon.
All right. Thanks again, guys.
All right. Have a good one. As always, thank you for lounging with us.